This has never, ever, ever been done before on YouTube, and that is critiquing my old art. This is when I first started drawing. I had never drawn before this. I started drawing a lot later in life. Post university, I decided to leave the film industry and join the poor art industry. And so I decided to learn how to draw. So all of these are probably around 2021, 2022. This is like a very old sketchbook. My first thing that I want to go over is beginner tips for getting started on drawing. How do you get started? The first thing is to draw what you like. Draw what you like. And then the second thing is to draw from books, basically copy. So what did both of these things do? Drawing what you like keeps you motivated. Drawing from books and copying from books, or from movies and TV shows or whatever, copying from that makes it so that you never run out of stuff to draw. And by doing both of these, they create consistency. They create consistency. And you need consistency when you're starting out, because you need to build a habit, because the best way to get better at drawing is to draw a lot. So basically, this is what I did. The one advice that I got when I started drawing was basically, you need to draw every day and you need to keep drawing, and even when it sucks, you need to keep drawing. So that's basically what I did. I just drew every single day, just drew whatever I liked. So from these drawings, these are from like KDA, I think Seraphine from League of Legends just released or something. They had a webcomic. I was reading a lot of webtoons, reading a lot of manhwa, so they had one. I printed it out and then I just copied the pictures and stuff from it. So let's go through and see what the mistakes were. I had no like training or anything, so now that I have some fresher, older, weary, tired eyeballs, I might be able to maybe impose some old man wisdom onto it. So for this one over here, it looks pretty good, I think. It looks kind of ugly. I think the lines are pretty messy. But I think that the thing that I want to keep track of is the unevenness of everything. It looks like, especially from the line work, I'm drawing things in parts and I'm unconfident. You want to draw things as big, solid pieces. So let's go over this first. Let's construct the head. It's at an angle, so let's put it at an angle like this. And then we have this neck. Because there's like this twist going on over here, I want to exaggerate that. So I'm going to twist and push this straight angle right here a lot stronger. Let's zoom in a little bit more so that you can see. And then here would be the curve. And then we have this line right here. Do you see how it's flat and then bumpy right here? To me, this tells me that I drew them as separate parts rather than a whole. If I were to do this drawing now, I would probably start with a big slant like this, just so I get the vibe of everything. Get the rib cage in, get the shoulders in, like this. And then you can start bringing in more of the anatomy. I didn't know any anatomy at this point, so I was just I think I was just drawing what I saw, but now that I know more, I can draw what I know what's there rather than what's being depicted. If you're looking at a piece of reference, and if something is unclear or something's not shown, if you have the anatomy or the fundamental knowledge, you'll be able to make informed decisions and add in what is not there. These clavicles, I don't know what they are. They look like staples. I need to make them more prominent and more confident. So this is how I would build out that neck area here. And then you can have this shoulder, a little bit more of a gesture to it, like this. Face is fine, right? I don't even know if I can draw faces still. But I think something with the hair that I want to mention is that this looks slimy. The hair looks really, really slimy. You want to definitely mark out the hairline and then give the hair big form. So like this. I think I've drawn this style of hair many, many times. At this point, I've already, chatted with Riot artists before and talk with them, work with them. So I'm able to be like, oh yeah, I know Seraphine's hair. Like this, create this form of solid shape. And then you can have a little bit of the bow. It's really flat and not, pushing the shape. So I would probably stick these out a little bit more and then give a little bit more hair volume like that. So this is how I would redo and apply those fixes to this old drawing of mine from, I think I've started drawing like 4 years ago now, which is pretty fast. I think growth wise is pretty fast. For this one, I think the one thing that I want to discuss is the lack of skull drawings and the lack of anatomy, which is, you know, expected because this is when I just started to draw. And remember, when you're just starting to draw, it's very important to nurture the feeling and the fun of drawing, and you want to basically find the enjoyment and make sure you enjoy it until it becomes a habit. And then once it becomes a habit, then you can, you know, hate it. Because sometimes I hate drawing so much. I'm like, I do not want to draw at all. Okay, I don't know what this was. Hold on, let me start over. So for this one, the issue with this is that there's lack of skull structure and there's a big forehead. Like the brow from the eyes is huge. So for this one, you definitely want to keep track of skulls and keep track of the Asaro head. So for here, you have the eye socket of the skulls dropping down like this. You have the Asaro head and Riley rhythms popping out like this. So you have skull dropping down. You have up here down to the glabella like this, down to the nose like this, down to the mandible, or no, this is the maxilla, I'm sure. And then you have the mandible that's down here, right? You kind of want to have this idea, and to simplify it more, you can definitely just go with, you know, the good old Loomis head like this, and then just cut out different portions like that. So have some of this in mind, because as you can see, there's a lack of structure. So like in this version here, there's a straight line going down here and it just drops down. The nose is pretty high up in my opinion, and then there is this distance. So if I were to redo something like this, I'll keep in mind the skull. So let's first find the brow line. That's where the brows are. I'll drop down, find where the jaw might be. From this brow line, you go in and then out for the cheekbone, and this is where the eye socket would be. And then you can drop it down here for the chin. You have the brow, you can lock in the brows. You have the top of the head protruding out. You have the eyes right here, the second eye, making sure that the eyes are matching the perspective. Because of the nose, I'm going to go in and then out like this, and then mouth like this, like that, right? No hair, no whatever yet, but later on, you know, if I want to put in the hair, you can put in the hair and stuff. But I think the idea is that there's a subtle knowledge of anatomy that's being added in, as well as a better balanced proportion of the face. And then if you want to put in all of this hair stuff, definitely the same idea as the other drawing that's all the way down in this corner. You want to have more volume, poofiness, right? Trying to create the gesture and the form of everything like that. Something like that. Now let's look at the good old side angle. I think the biggest thing with the side angle is the lowness of the mouth and the flatness of the eye, along with kind of like this lack of structure near the neck area. So what I would adjust over here would be, let's first build out the side of the head. You have the neck, which is a nice dynamic angle. And then you have this rib cage. The neck attaches to the rib cage at a slant, like this. And then we have the eye line or the brow line. For the eyes, I kind of drew the icon of the eye rather than drawing the eye in perspective while keeping track of the 3D forms of it, like this. You want to make sure that we turn the forms and draw how they are seen, not what you think they look like. You can protrude out the nose a little bit. That's a lot. Bring it back just slightly. And then I'll bring the mouth up higher, like this. Like that. The mouth would be higher, more space for the chin. The nose has a little bit more shape to it. The eyes match, things like that. And then also just space on the back of the head and giving more volume for the hair, something like that. 7th cervical vertebrae, back of the neck, shoulder. Now I'm trying to remember what this pose was, or just going off of my drawing. I think the shoulder was up. Looks like the shoulder is up here, dropping down like this. Arm, rib cage, breast, like that. So I think that in this version, I think the face can still, you know, I messed up on the proportions of the face, but that's fine. It'd be like that. The idea is still there, and it's a lot more fluid and gestural, right? We have this going down, these gesture lines. We have smooth motions here. We have small bumps coming down here. There's more dynamicism in it, and also just a stronger sense of proportion and anatomy. So for this one, the first thing that I saw when I looked back at this was, my goodness, the head is so tiny compared to the rest of the body. I'm pretty sure what happened was I drew the body and then I decided to put the head in, but then I didn't want to mess up any of these other drawings, and then I ended up drawing the head, squeezing the head in really small. When you're a beginner starting out, it's harder to see the full picture. You're kind of just like so focused on the little things that I'm like seeing it in parts rather than seeing it as a whole. So I think that's big, you know, like overarching advice is to always try to look back and see things as a whole. It's a lot easier said than done, but you just got to keep practicing it until it becomes second nature. So if I were to do this, let's start it like how I did it in the past, where I built the body first and then I put the head in last. But this time I'm going to be trying to keep in mind the full, like the whole piece, seeing it as a whole. So for this, there is kind of like some perspective and angles. I feel like the torso is pretty long too, considering the perspective. So I'm going to first start off by, let's use the box technique, because I think that's something that a lot of people learn in the beginning. So I'm going to put out a box like this to kind of find where the rib cage might be, and then it's going to turn over this way, and then I can find a second box around here for the leg. But keep in mind, it's like very, very loose. I'm just kind of finding the corners and the angles of placing everything like that. Okay, now remember, the rib cage is not a box. The box is just to help find the perspective of the rib cage, the angle of the rib cage, not the actual rib cage. So I'm going to actually put the rib cage inside like this, trying to draw light. And then we have the pelvis. So I'm seeing a lot more side, so I'm actually going to turn the side, this hip, more to the side, bring out the iliac crest of the hip over this way like this, giving me a little bit more of a side angle like that. And then bringing out the mass of the butt and the leg, the gluteus maximus, as well as the great trochanter and all of that. Like you have a bunch of muscles attaching like here, attaching to the leg like this, so that this leg is climbing up like this. Okay, so we have something like that. I would probably fold it like this. And then we have the second leg like here or something. Unimportant. So now we have this big rib cage idea. We have the shoulder. We have two shoulders coming out. This shoulder feels a little bit like noodly and unclear. So I'm going to put in a ball first for the shoulder, find the arm, drop the arm down. We're using my simple shapes. It has this kind of angle to it, so I want to keep track of that, keeping in mind the angle of the ulna, the elbow, as well as the structure of the forearm down into the hand, something like that. This hand is not attached to the body. You can see how like it angles out this way. It doesn't attach to anything, right? It should be up here. But that's just because I think I was just copying without fully understanding the anatomy or the study behind it. So I'm going to do better this time. So if we have the clavicles coming out like this, we can finish this shoulder first, like that. This shoulder would be hidden in perspective, and then, but I'm going to draw out what I don't see, so that way things can be clear and make anatomical sense. because this wrist and this hand is touching the hair, I'm going to put it in the head now. So I'm going to keep track of this whole body. The head should be around this big-ish, and I'm going to draw loose and try to find it on the page. I'm going to put something like this in and then slowly work it so that it kind of fits where I want it to go. Because this is traditional and not digital, I can't move stuff around, so I'm just going to kind of be sliming it around until I can maybe find a size that I like. But the important part is that I'm keeping track and comparing the sizes to the rest of the body as I'm building it out. Now this clavicle is way out of place, but it's fine because I'm going to move it to a different spot. I am not precious about my drawings. You make mistakes. This isn't going to be put up for sale anywhere. It's going to be put in the trash, or it's going to be put in a folder and then gone forever. Like with these drawings, like these were just put in a giant box and hidden away for 5 years. So we have something like this now. This hand is touching the hair. So I'm going to put the wrist where I feel like I want it to be. The hand could be like that. And then I'm going to basically try to connect it in a way that feels meaningful without breaking anything. So I already see that this is way too low. So I'm going to end the forearm around here and then move everything to match like that. And then so all of this won't exist anymore. If I had an eraser, I would just erase it, but I don't have an eraser. I don't like drawing with erasers because I'm lazy and I don't want to pick up an eraser. And it just also trains me to be more permanent and be more decisive, and it's also okay to make mistakes. So we have the center line, and we have the center line of the abdomen. Breast line, you'll have a rhythm going like this. You'll have it going like this. You have a second rhythm like this. You'll have a rhythm going over the top like that. A little bit of the rib cage from underneath. And then we have the abs coming out like that. But then they're covered by the arm. So that's kind of my new interpretation of this drawing, and how I would correct the anatomy and the form behind everything, and how I would approach it from like this new perspective that I have. And what is the ways that I would approach this? I would be see whole, not parts. That's kind of like the whole thing. You want to see the image as a whole thing, not as the parts. Learn different ways to build out the drawings. So like in this case, I used 2 boxes and then, connected them and then built up the anatomy around it. You can use like the Riley rhythms where you have like the double triangles. You can use gesture drawings, like using like, the bean to find everything, right? There's a bunch of different ways to sort of start drawings, and it's important to know all of them so that way you can use and choose which ones you want to use before you begin the drawing. For these other ones, it's the same concept essentially. It's just having a stronger understanding of what's underneath, the academic understanding, as well as drawing things as a whole rather than parts. So see the whole, not the parts.